You ever scroll through your friends list and kind of stop on that one person who never posts? I mean, they're there, but they're just silent. It's so easy to think, oh, they must be shy, or maybe their life's just not that exciting. But what if I told you that their silence isn't what it seems at all? What if they're actually one of the most confident people you know online? Today, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of the silent user. And trust me, the truth is way more fascinating than you think.
I mean, we all know someone like this, right? A friend, a coworker, a cousin. They've got the accounts, but for all intents and purposes, they're basically digital ghosts. And in a world that is screaming at us to share every single moment, they're choosing to just watch from the sidelines. It's a really interesting choice, and it kind of makes you wonder why.
Okay, so let's be honest. We all jump to conclusions. We see that quiet profile, and our brain just fills in the gaps. We think shy, antisocial, maybe they just have nothing interesting going on. But, and this is a big but, psychology comes in and completely flips the script. The research suggests that what we're actually seeing isn't a lack of confidence, but an abundance of it. It's often a sign of some serious self-awareness and real emotional security.
And that right there, that is the most important shift in how we look at this. This isn't just something that happens to them. The research is super clear. This online silence is an active, deliberate choice. It's a strategy. And there are some seriously powerful reasons behind it. So let's dig into them.
So the first huge reason really comes down to this fundamental trade-off that, we all make whether we realize it or not. It's the choice between protecting your personal privacy and chasing public popularity. For the silent user, it's not even a competition.
Psychologists actually have a term for this, a high privacy orientation. And you can think of it like this. For some people, their lives are kind of like an open book for anyone to flip through. But for these folks, their life is much more like a private journal. It's not that they're hiding anything scandalous, they're just really intentional about who gets to read the pages. They're the only editor of their own story, and they value that inner world way more than any kind of public performance.
And that is such an important point to make. This isn't about being antisocial or trying to avoid connecting with people. It's about protecting their mental energy. The online world can be so noisy and demanding. By choosing silence, they're basically building a fortress to guard their own inner peace.
Now, this whole idea of guarding their inner peace leads us right into our next big concept, which kind of answers the question, if they aren't looking for likes online, where do they get their sense of self-worth? Well, the answer is what we call the self-validation mindset. This is the real game changer. So much of social media is built on this economy of what we call external validation. The likes, the comments, the shares. It's a constant feedback loop. But the silent user? They've just completely opted out of that whole game. Their sense of value comes from inside.
The psychological term for this is a great one, an internal locus of evaluation. It sounds fancy, but it just means they have their own internal scorecard. So while a lot of people are constantly refreshing their feed to see how their latest performance was rated by the audience, the silent user is measuring themselves against their own goals, their own values. The applause from a digital crowd, it just isn't a metric on their scorecard.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it looks like someone who is just really grounded in who they are. Their happiness isn't fragile. It's not going to shatter if a post goes unnoticed because their self-worth was never up for a vote in the first place. They're not chasing the latest viral trend because they're not trying to impress anybody. And honestly, they would much rather have one deep, authentic conversation over coffee than 1,000 shallow interactions online.
So at the end of the day, it's a mindset that's all about substance over style. They think before they speak, or, in this case, before they post. And if they do decide to share something, you can be pretty sure it's because it has real meaning to them, not because they felt some kind of pressure to fill the digital void.
Okay, so when you take these two huge ideas, that fierce protection of privacy and a super strong sense of self-validation, and you put them together, what do you get? You get this really rare and powerful kind of confidence. It's a confidence that is so solid, it doesn't need an audience.
A huge part of this puzzle is that these individuals tend to be incredibly media savvy. They see with crystal clarity that what's on social media isn't reality. It's a curated, filtered, greatest hits collection, and they consciously decide not to get swept up in that illusion. And this taps right into a really powerful psychological trap called social comparison theory. See, we're all naturally wired to compare ourselves to others. It's just how we figure out where we fit in. But social media takes that natural human tendency and just puts it on steroids. We end up comparing our messy, real, behind-the-scenes lives to everyone else's perfectly polished highlight reels. The silent user gets this. They see the trap, and by choosing not to play, they are strategically protecting their own mental health.
Just think about it for a second. Every single post we make is, in a way, a little performance. You're putting something out there on a digital stage waiting for a reaction. By consciously staying off that stage, they are actively choosing their own mental peace over that constant pressure to perform.
And what's the ultimate payoff for making these choices? A genuinely secure self-esteem. It's a confidence that is totally self-sustaining. It doesn't need constant fuel from the outside. And this, naturally, leads to way less anxiety, less of that exhausting need for approval, and a whole lot more time and energy to focus on what actually matters to them in the real world.
And it really all comes down to this one profound idea. They don't need to be seen by everybody to feel seen. Their value isn't tied to being visible to a crowd online. They feel seen and understood by that small circle of people who actually matter in their real life. And for them, that is more than enough. So, the next time you're scrolling and you pass by that social media ghost, maybe think twice. In a world that is so full of noise, their silence might just be the most powerful statement of all. You might just be looking at the most grounded and truly confident person in the room.
And that kind of leaves us with a great question to reflect on for ourselves. In this loud, attention-obsessed world, what does genuine, unshakable confidence really look like to you? Thanks for digging into this with me.